So President Obama is making his last trip around the world. He went to Greece. They threw Molotov cocktails at him. That happened. Here he is in because Greece, I don't know if you know, is a big signpost for how predatory capitalism is failing worldwide. It's failing in Greece, failing here in America. Half the country's poor. Is that a victory for predatory capitalism? Half the country's poor. Millions don't have health care. Is that a success of a system? I would say no. They did Brexit over in the UK. They did Brexit. And then Greece, you got Greece happening. They're going to have a right-wing party take over in France pretty soon. Italy's also failing. Predatory capitalism is coming to an end. We elected Donnie Tiny Hands. That's how bad it is. And Barack Obama has his head up his ass. Here he is in Germany, standing next to Merkel, who's also in trouble. And he's trying to respond to the Trump winning the election, to Brexit, to all the upheaval that's happening around the world. And Barack Obama, once again, completely fails to meet the moment. Let's watch.
Constantly say to young people, I say it in the United States, but I'll say it here in Germany and across Europe, do not take for granted our systems of government and our way of life.
You know the way Barack Obama took it for granted? You know the way he did nothing? You know how he actually stripped more rights away? He gutted the Constitution, took away habeas corpus. Barack Obama did that, which I don't know if you habeas corpus. It's in the Magna Carta. It's kind of the linchpin of democracy. So now he's handing that to Donnie Tiny Hands fascist. Now Donnie Tiny Hands doesn't have to worry about habeas corpus. Now he can throw anybody who opposes him in jail without charging them in a military prison because Barack Obama made that possible. Do you go, Jimmy, they would never do that. Why would they? Why do you think they passed that law? Why do you think Barack Obama signed that? That's Section 1021 of the NDAA. Why do you think he signed that? Because they weren't going to use it? Because they didn't want to throw Americans in prison without charging them with a crime? Or because they were already doing it? And now he gives that power to Donnie Tiny Hands. And he talks about, you are taking our systems of government for granted? Really? You're the one who did that because you gutted all the safeguards of it.
I think there is a tendency, because we have lived in an era that has been largely stable and peaceful, at least in advanced countries.
I don't know if there's a more offensive thing that a guy who's currently bombing 7 different countries can say to the people he's fucking bombing, that we live in peaceful times. They ran out of bombs to drop in Syria this year. They ran out of bombs. Barack Obama now bombing Yemen at the behest of Saudi Arabia, bombing in Afghanistan, bombing in Libya. He overthrew the government in Libya. They're trying to overthrow the government in Syria, and all for oil, by the way, all for fossil fuels. Bombing 7 different countries. This is so unbelievable what this guy's, that's unbelievable what he just said. We live in peaceful times. You know, if you live in a country, we're not bombing. We just completely turned the Middle East into an inferno. The Americans did, with the help of Hillary Clinton and you. And you got the balls to stand up there and say that? Hank, does that bother you that he said that? Am I out of my mind?
No, you're not out of your mind. It's marketing.
Yeah, so this is him failing to meet the moment.
Right.
This is him saying, yes, capitalism is failing worldwide. We got some real problems. People just did the Brexit, and now they voted in Trump. People are hurting, and we have to step up. We have to stop predatory capitalism, meaning run by the banks, which he's not saying. He's saying nothing. Barack Obama is a great politician because he can say nothing and really mean it. Why? He's this whole thing, Hank. He's not going to say a goddamn thing. If he wasn't the president of the United States, after 2 minutes of this crap, people would say, shut up, you're babbling. But he's the president, and he's pretty.
And it's not. Democracy is hard work.
Also, dismantling democracy, very easy, which is why he did it on New Year's Eve. That's when he signed the NDAA Section 1021 to repeal habeas corpus. So democracy is hard work. He's not willing to do any of it. He's not doing it. You know, his version of democracy is to ask Wall Street, Big Pharma, and the fossil fuels what they want, and then go out in a real pretty way with his pretty face and screw over the people and convince them that that's what they need. You need the TPP. You got to have that. Yeah, it takes away our sovereignty, screws over workers, makes it harder for people who are sick to get drugs all around the world. It protects mostly patent holders and corporations, but fuck it. The hard work of democracy. The guy sold out. He sold us out. I'm sorry if you're a big Barack Obama's, because he's nice. He's likable. He's pretty. He knows all the language of liberalism and progressivism. And then he goes ahead and sticks it right up your ass. He's letting people crack the heads of peaceful protesters all over the country, especially in North Dakota. He's done nothing to reform the criminal justice system, did nothing to reform Wall Street, nothing. He did not stop the Afghanistan war. We're in more wars than we were when he got into office. This is what we're left with in America. 2 parties of war, 2 parties of Wall Street, 2 parties of fossil fuels. And this motherfucker's got the balls to go tell people we're living in a peaceful world. At the same time, he's bombing 7 different goddamn countries. And democracy's hard work. Why did Hillary Clinton go to fucking Wisconsin then? Because you guys did the hard work of selling out your own goddamn workers. That's why.
In the United States, if 43% of eligible voters do not vote, then democracy is weakened.
Yeah, it's the voters' fault. It's the voters, you know, the ones who you've constantly sold out, the voters who you've done nothing for. You mean the voters in Michigan who are drinking leaded water that you still haven't fixed? We can't even fix the leaded water in Flint, Michigan. And there you are in Germany castigating American voters for not being more enthused about coming out to vote against their own fucking interests. That's what you want. Oh, I don't know why they don't come out and keep voting against their own interests. Why don't they get excited to vote for someone who just outsourced all their jobs under Bill Clinton while gutting welfare and exploding the prison population? Why won't people come out to vote for those damn voters? Don't you know democracy is important? You got to come out and vote for Hillary Clinton against your own interests. This is your hero. This guy is such a fucking failure. He is so not what we thought he was. He is so the opposite. He's the problem. He's why we got Trump, because people's health care is going up 25% this year, and they got no plans for it. He'll go back to the health insurance companies. What do you want? How can we fix this? Anything you guys want, that's the only thing I can do.
If we are not serious about facts and what's true and what's not.
You know, like the fact that the TPP is bad for everybody except corporations and patent holders. You know, the fact that half of America is poor or in poverty. You know, the fact that you sat there and did nothing while Wisconsin took the teachers union away from teachers. That fact? You mean that fact? Or how about the fact that you never sent anybody, you never prosecuted one person who crashed our economy, that economy that was based on fraud set up by your donors? You mean that fact? That you bailed out Wall Street while you turned your back on Main Street? You mean that fact? No, not that fact. The fact that you continued the wars in Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Libya, that you continued George Bush's war policy, you continued George Bush's economic policies. Not only that, you took his defense secretary and you put him in your cabinet. He was your defense. You couldn't have been more continuation of Bush's war policy. You got the same Goldman Sachs motherfuckers to come run your treasury. The same people. The same Wall Street bankers. Democracy's hard work. How goddamn dare you, you failure? Most powerful man in America, letting cops crack the heads of peaceful protesters at Occupy Wall Street all across the country at the behest of his donors. And you're going to wag your finger at those voters for not coming out to support your bullshit and Hillary Clinton's bullshit? You're the failure. Shame on you, Barack Obama.
and particularly in an age of social media where so many people are getting their information in sound bites and snippets off their phones.
I mean, just listen to his demeanor. The world is in peril. Could this guy be sleepier? Could he have less of a fucking message for people? What is your call to action, Barack Obama? You have no call to action. Because your call to action goes out to the banks. You have no call to action. What do you want people to do, Barack Obama? You want them to come out and vote for Hillary Clinton? That's going to solve the problem? She is the problem. Just like you are the problem, and your economics are the problem.
If we can't discriminate between serious arguments and propaganda, then we have problems.
You mean like the propaganda when you wanted to bomb Syria because you said they were doing war crimes? Meanwhile, we're doing war crimes left and right all over the Middle East. But you wanted to bomb Syria? You mean that kind of fact or fiction? You mean the fiction that it's good to do the TPP? You mean that fiction? You mean it's good that we shouldn't in fact, we should make the banks bigger? You mean that fiction? That's what you did. You made the banks bigger, Barack Obama. You mean that fiction? You mean the fact that you took the power away from unions, workers? One of the institutions that is one of the brakes on predatory capitalism? You did that. You mean that kind of fact?
If people, whether they are conservative or liberal, left or right, are unwilling to compromise and engage in the democratic process and are taking absolutist views and demonizing opponents.
Yeah, Brock, maybe you should demonize the guys who are trying to screw over the country. Maybe just once in a while you stand up to the guys who criminally crashed our economy. Maybe once you do that. This is that bullshit. Everything's okay. Don't worry about anything. The banks are in charge. In fact, the only people to blame are the voters. Mm-hmm. In fact, the only people who are really the fault for this shitstorm we're in is the people with no money and no power.
And democracy will break down. And so I think my most important advice is to understand what are the foundations of a healthy democracy, and
how about one vote, one man, one vote? How about that? How about when the majority of people vote one way, and then the whole goddamn election goes to the guy who lost? How about that? How about you talk about that? Oh, you mean that kind of thing? That's the most important thing? There's no democracy in this country. We're using a system set up by syphilitic slave owners to keep power in the hands of white property owners, and it's working. And no one gives a shit. 2 of the elections in 16 years. The guy who lost gets to be president. Can you imagine if that happened to Putin? Imagine if Putin lost by over 1 million votes and he goes, it's nice you guys had your election. Get it out of your system. You know I'm still in charge. Bye-bye. That's the rules. That's how we set this. That's the rules. It's good I know how you feel. I'm still in charge. I can't even listen anymore of that shit. The mandate Barack Obama received from the people was wanting change from the Bush era. They wanted change. He brought them zero change. All he did was switch the face. And here we are. They wanted change. Here we are, still in Afghanistan, still in Iraq, dropping 20,000 bombs in Syria. Looks like Obama failed on that mandate. Does it look like Barack Obama failed on that mandate? They wanted change. They wanted to break up the banks. They wanted a whole new economic system. They wanted real health care. They wanted to stop those stupid wars. He didn't do any of that shit. He killed Osama bin Laden. Good for you. Martin Luther King said, war draws human skills and money like some demonic suction tube away from the needs of a civil society. So Barack Obama's leaving with a bigger bloated military budget than when he came in. More people in poverty than when he came in. And he instituted a right-wing answer to our healthcare problems, ensuring that it wouldn't solve our problems. I can't listen to that guy. So here he is. He's got 2 months left, and Americans are going to let him just skate out without doing a goddamn thing. No one's trying to get him. Hey, you're giving the surveillance state over to a bunch of maniacs. You have no habeas corpus. No one gives a shit. Hey, you left the banks bigger than when you came in. So, hey, there's more wars going on than when you started. Yeah. So what? The country's a little worse off than when Barack Obama got here. That's why they just elected Donnie Tiny Hands. And people know it. People know your solutions are for your corporate donors and they're not for the people. There he is saying nothing. Saying nothing. That's your legacy. Nothing.